Hello everybody and welcome back to Soulveyor devlog number 14. This week I worked on a couple more parallax related topics, more specifically infinite particles, or particle wrapping for short. So if you take a look at these particles right here, these little test foreground particles, if I go ahead and move my player up infinitely, doesn't matter how far I move my player up or down, there will always be these test particles or whatever the particles are. Same with clouds. You see how there's always clouds? And these are particles. These aren't sprites. These are a whole entire particle system. So no matter how far I go in any direction, left or right as well, there will always be particles. And this is really handy because the particles will remain in place. So this particle will always be right there, moving proportionately to the distance of the camera. And if I go eventually too far to the right, these particles will wrap back around. Kind of similarly to how these background parallax objects work, how these mountains will infinitely tile, these particles will basically infinitely tile. So no matter where you move, there will always be particles. And this is just a really efficient solution because I don't have to create some super massive boundary that contains all the particles. I can just have a relatively small boundary around whatever the size of the camera is and just loop those particles over and over again. This actually took me quite a bit of time to get down the math, but the math was rather simple once I found the solution. Ooh, another thing I did was, if you can see in the background, the sun is slightly opposite of the shadows now. So just technically a little more consistent with the shadows, because before they were kind of over here, like during the day, the sun was to the left and the shadows were pointing to the left, which kind of like didn't make sense if you think about it. But now the sun's on the right hand side and the shadows are on the left, so it makes a little bit more sense. Another thing I did was take a look at this. The parallax is now properly lit. Now I couldn't just use my 3D lighting system because the parallax exists on its own different dimension. So I basically had to create almost like a faked lighting system where I simply just tint all of these objects whatever the color of the sun is. So as you can see, the parallax off into the distance matches the lighting of the world. Tada, look at that, look at that. And this is the nighttime parallax. I also added some more sun and moon logic, so the sun will get disabled during nighttime and the moon will get disabled during the day for now, just to make it so you don't get any like funky overlap. And the alpha of the sun and the moon will also lerp in, so it'll slowly fade in and fade out when the sun is spawning or despawning. A bunch of other particle changes across the board, and I looked into adding Discord integration for Soulveyor so you can get little status updates. When you click on your Discord profile, it'll say like you're in the overworld for 10 minutes, or you're in the duel for 20 minutes, or you're in a house for 30 minutes. Discord integration is just a small little cool thing to add, which is surprisingly simple to do once you get it down. But yeah, that's just about. Until next time.